Alright, quick question. If you saw someone walking toward you in old Ogoni land, dressed head to toe in traditional attire, before they even spoke, would you know who they were, what they stood for, or the power they carried? Because back then, clothing wasn't fashion. It was language. And if you couldn't read it, you could get into serious trouble. Now let me walk you through this, slowly, vividly, like we're sitting together and I'm telling you a story you were never taught in school. In traditional Ogoni society, what you wore was never random. Your clothes spoke before your mouth ever opened. First, age. Children didn't dress like adults. Young boys often went bare-chested, sometimes with simple waist wrappers. It wasn't neglect. It was identity. It said, I am still learning. I am still under protection. Young girls wore modest wrappers and simple beads. Nothing loud. Nothing exaggerated. Because dressing loudly before your time was seen as disrespect, almost like skipping steps in life. Now adulthood, that's where things changed. When a man reached adulthood, his dressing matured with him. Wrapper styles became heavier. Fabrics thicker. Colors deeper. Earth tones, browns, reds, indigo. Not flashy, but grounded. Stable. It symbolized responsibility. I can provide. I can protect. I belong. Women, especially married women, dressed with intention. Their wrappers were carefully tied. Blouses or cloth coverings were neat. Beads were worn, but never randomly. Waist beads, neck beads, sometimes ankle beads. Each one had meaning. Fertility. Marital status. Womanhood. And here's something people don't talk about enough. In Ogoni land, overdressing could be just as bad as underdressing. You couldn't wear what wasn't meant for your stage in life. Doing that was seen as pride or rebellion. Now let's talk about beads, because beads were not decorations. They were statements. Coral beads, for example, were powerful. Not everyone could wear them. If you saw coral beads around someone's neck, wrist, or head, you were not looking at a regular person. You were looking at royalty, a chief, or someone closely connected to authority. Wearing coral without permission wasn't just wrong, it was dangerous. It could be seen as impersonation of power. Then there were white beads. These symbolized purity, spirituality, and ancestral connection. Priests, diviners, and people involved in spiritual duties wore them. When you saw white beads, you lowered your voice. You watched your words. You understood that the person carried spiritual weight. Now let me tell you something fascinating. Even the way a wrapper was tied mattered. A loose tie could suggest mourning. A specific knot could signal celebration. Another style could indicate readiness for ceremony or war. Yes, war. Warriors had their own dress codes. They often wore minimal clothing for movement, but added symbolic items, charms, beads, markings, sometimes animal skins. Not for fashion. For protection. For intimidation. For spiritual confidence. Seeing a warrior dressed for battle wasn't just scary. It was a message. I am not alone. My ancestors walk with me. Now women also had ceremonial dress codes. During festivals, weddings, or rites of passage, women dressed in layered wrappers, elaborate beads, sometimes body markings made with natural dyes. Their appearance celebrated life, fertility, and continuity. A well-dressed woman was not showing off. She was honoring her lineage. And elders dressed simply, but powerfully. Nothing loud. Nothing excessive. Just carefully chosen cloth, walking sticks, maybe a cap. Their authority wasn't in color. It was in presence. When an elder walked into a space, nobody needed an announcement. The dressing already said, respect lives here. Here's the part that hurts a little. Colonialism didn't just change governance. It disrupted identity. Western clothing slowly erased these codes. Uniforms replaced symbolism. Fashion replaced meaning. Suddenly, dressing stopped telling stories. Today, many Ogoni youth wear traditional attire only for pictures, for festivals, without knowing what any of it actually means. But those clothes still remember. They remember who wore them first. They remember why certain beads were feared. They remember why some colors were sacred. And here's the truth. When a people forget the language of their clothing, they start forgetting themselves. Ogoni dress codes were never about looking good. They were about order, respect, spiritual balance, and identity. So the next time you see an old photo, or a cultural display, or someone in full traditional Ogoni attire, don't just admire it. Ask yourself, what is this outfit trying to say? Because in Ogoni land, clothing was never silent.